Hey guys, Logan with Owl here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install your passenger side V2 Flex. You can already see we got the driver side on here. Let's show you how to get the passenger side on there. Let's get into it. All right, now before we get into install, let's go over the tools and everything that you're going to be receiving in your kit. So as far as tools that you're going to need some sort of drill, a 3/8 drill bit. I have a 12-inch long one. Makes it a little bit easier, but it's not necessarily needed. Some painter's tape or something similar, as well as some anti-seize. You're gonna need a 9/16 wrench, 3/8 ratchet. I like a 3-inch extension, and then a 9/16 socket, 1/4-inch ratchet, 3-inch extension, and then a 532 Allen and a 732 Allen. And then that should be about it as far as tools you're gonna need. As well, you're gonna need a can of paint, but that's pretty simple. Now, depending on your van, it's something you're going to check, and I'll show you here in a second. You may need this heavy-bodied seam sealer, but I'll show you how to check if you're going to need that on your van or not when we get into it in a second. Now, as far as your kit goes, you're going to have your door handle release extension, so that's going to be 2 pieces here. Depending on what panels you got, you're going to have 2 bags of V2 Flex panel hardware. And then you're gonna have your V2 Flex passenger hardware bag, as well as our V2 Flex, which we have right over there for now. But let's get into the install, and I'll show you where to start at. All right, you can see we've made our way over to the van. We have our passenger door right here. First thing that you're going to check on any van that you're working on, you're going to want to make sure that it has 180-degree hinges and not 270-degree hinges. So you can see here, we already have the hinges with the 2 holes, which is going to be your 180-degree hinges. If you don't already have those, you can purchase them from us, and we'll have an install video linked down below showing you how to install them. Now, just so you know, for this install, the hole's already drilled, but I'll show you how to drill the hole. This is just our show van, and we've done a lot of testing on it. But first thing we're going to do, we're going to get the door opened up and get the door panel removed. Let's get into it. All right, you can see that we made it back to the inside of the van. We ripped off the door panel real quick, went ahead and pulled the door handle out as well. Super easy, just a little push clip on the back side. Now, when we get this all pulled out of the way, there's a few things we want to check, and it's gonna be all these internal door supports. So all of these supports in here, you want to make sure there's no movement to them. If there is any movement in them, you're gonna want to use heavy body seam sealer as we've shown. Go ahead and seal it up and make sure that it's gonna stick in place. That way, when you put the weight on the door and the weight on the carrier, it's not gonna cause any damage to the door down the line, but super easy. You can see we've put some on here, and now these are super solid in place, no movement to them at all. So it's gonna be both those upper ones, and then there's these 3 across here, and then there's 1 bottom one. So check those, but after that, and once you've made sure that's all good, we're gonna move back to the outside of the door, and I'm gonna show you how to get the door handle extension installed on there. All right, now that we're over here, we're back at the outside of the door. I have my 2 pieces for my door handle extension. Now, ours is a little bit different, it's just a prototype. So yours will come with PEM nuts, but for ours, we're just gonna use nuts and bolts. But you're gonna slip the smaller piece around the back side. You're just gonna sit it on there for now. You'll take your front piece, we're gonna get the bolts started in there. All right, now you can see that I got the handle extension all tightened down on there. Now when you're going to put it on, you want to make sure it's centered properly on the door or seated properly. So as you start to snug down the bolts, it'll kind of just clip into place if you rotate it. Now on the back side, right behind here, where the factory handle is, you're going to leave just about an 1/8 inch gap, and you'll kind of be able to visually see it as you're tightening it down. Once we get that all tightened down, we're going to move on to the next part. So we're going to go and get our hinge bolts and plates in place, and we'll get them all taped in. Alrighty, now you can see I got the door all the way opened up, just kind of for demonstration purposes, but we're gonna go ahead and take our hinge plates. So we have our one that looks like alloys right here, and we have our rectangular plate. These are our hinge bolt plates. I'll show you how they go in. Now you can see on this rectangular one, the bolts are off-centered to the side, as well if you look very closely, they're off-centered to the top or bottom a little bit. So the way that we're gonna be putting this in, we're gonna have this edge, so we're gonna have the bolt holes closest to the inside of the van, and we're gonna have the bolt holes towards the top. So I'll show you how that goes in there in a second. And then this top plate, it'll just slide right into place and you'll see which direction it goes in. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and put my bolts in here, and I'm gonna put some anti-seize on the bolts as I put them in place. When I go to put the bolt plates in the hinges, I'm gonna put some blue tape on the backside. That way it holds the bolts in place. And when I go to put the carrier on, I'm actually able to do it by myself. So let me get that all taken care of. All right, now that we have our bolt plates in place, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go run over and grab the carrier, and we're gonna put it on there. What I like to do is I'll get it hung on the bolts, and I'll get one nut and washer started on the top, and then I'll get one nut and washer started on the bottom. That way, I don't have to worry about trying to fiddle with it. So I'll get those started, and then I can let go of it, and I'll get the other two on, and then we'll get it all tightened down, and then we'll drill out our hole for our third mounting point. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and get the hinge bolts all tightened down. Obviously a 9/16 and a 7/32. We'll get them all tightened down. Now when we're going to do this, I like to lift up the carrier, and I'll do it normally with my knee or my leg, so I'm able to reach and tighten at the same time. This just makes sure that it's level and that it's sitting in its proper position, because obviously as of now, it's drooped down and it's kind of putting downward pressure on those bolts. So I'll pick it up when I go to tighten it down, and that way it sits completely level once we have everything all tight. All right, now that we have the carrier all tightened down on the hinge side, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna get the third mounting point drilled out. Now, I already have it drilled out, but I'm gonna show you how I normally align it to drill it out. So we're gonna grab our plate. You'll notice the hole's off-centered and it's closer to the bottom. So it's gonna go like this. So you want the hole closer to the bottom when we stick it onto the van. Now, the way that I normally do this is I'll take my drill with my drill bit on there. I'll stick it through the hole on the carrier. Make sure the drill is level. And then I'll stick my plate behind it, just like that. And I'll go ahead and kind of mark the hole with the drill, or you can drill it all the way through. And then we'll go ahead and we'll get the plate stuck on there. And now after you drill the hole, you want to make sure that you paint the hole to make sure you have no rust issues down the line. So just like some black Rust-Oleum or something along the lines of that will work, just to make sure that you have no rust down the line. But we'll go ahead and get this put on there, and then we'll get our third mounting point bolt put in there. Now, when we go to tighten the third mounting point, we want to make sure that with the bushing, we don't over tighten the bushing. If you over tighten the bushing, it's going to make the bushing act a little bit more solid, and it won't be able to absorb any shock or absorb the weight on the door. So we're going to get that tightened down just until the bushing has a little bit of pressure on it. All right, now that we have the third mounting point all tightened down without making sure it's too over tight, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna move to the inside. We're gonna get our door brace installed, get our panels back on, and then all that we have left is getting the panels on that you decided for your adventure. Alrighty, now that we have the third mounting point hole drilled and our mounting plate installed, and we have the door panel off, we're gonna be doing the internal door support bracket. So here's the bracket itself. You can tell ours is raw. The final product, it's actually gonna be zinced. And then you're gonna have a paper template. I found easiest to cut out the edges of the template and then cut out the inside area as well. So I'm gonna get this cut out, but then I'll show you once we get over to the van where we're gonna be drilling out. Alrighty, you can see I went ahead and trimmed out the template here. I'm gonna grab myself a roll of blue tape. We're gonna head on over to the door and we're gonna get it taped up. Now this big hole, as well as this pill-shaped hole down here, and then the bigger circle hole, those are all gonna be pre-existing holes on the back of your door. So we're gonna line up all of those, and then we're gonna drill out this hole and this hole right here. So let's get over to the door and I'll show you. Alrighty, so you can see I got it all taped up here. Right here and right here, we're just gonna be drilling those holes out. Now, even though we're just putting a 1/4-20 bolt through there, go ahead and drill them out to 5/16 so you have a little bit of wiggle room when you get the bracket in there, so that just in case it's off just a tiny bit, you're able to get the bolts all the way through. So I'm gonna get that drilled out. You can watch me do that, and then we're gonna get the bracket put in from the backside. All right, now that I got the holes drilled out, gonna lay some paint on there real quick. Just as all other holes, we wanna make sure there's no rusting down the line, so. All right, now that it's painted, we're gonna go ahead and grab our inner door support bracket. This single pill-shaped hole on the backside, that's gonna be for your third mounting point bolt. And then the two smaller pill-shaped holes, those are gonna be for the holes that we just drilled out. Now, if your van has this cutout here, that's gonna be the easiest way to get it in there. You'll just slide it in. Now, if for whatever reason your van doesn't have that, as some vans don't, pull the door handle out and you're gonna be able to go up and over the door handle, and it's gonna be super tight, but you should be able to just barely squeeze it in there to get it all lined up. So I'm gonna get it slid in there. All right, now we're gonna grab our 1/4-20 nuts, bolts, and washers, and we're just gonna slide them through and just get them started for now. We're gonna get the third mounting point bolt in as well here in just a second. We just wanna make sure all the holes are lined up before we tighten anything down. Alrighty, now that we got that inner door support brace bracket on, we can go ahead and make sure the B2 Flex is all tightened down, and then we can get our panels put on there. Any accessories that you wish added on there as well. Alrighty, now that we're here, we have everything all tightened down, have our brace installed on the inside, and we have our door panel back in. All we have left is just getting the panels put on the doors. So depending on what you decided for your adventure, whether you want a tire up here or a tire down here, whether you want just a box down here and you want an open window, whatever your adventure requires, we have the solutions for you. I'm gonna show you how those panels go on, super simple and easy, and then you're all finished up with your B2 Flex install. Alrighty, now that we're here, we're gonna go ahead and get these panels put in. Super simple. I like to start by hanging it just with this one middle bolt on the top, and then we're gonna go ahead and get everything all tightened down. Now when you're putting your bolts on, obviously you'll see in your kit is included just a little bit of blue Loctite. Make sure you put blue Loctite on all the bolts. That way we have no chance of them backing out down the line. We'll get them all tightened down. Now, when you're going to tighten it, you also want to make sure these holes right here in the slot, you want to make sure that those aren't blocked. So you want to make sure you center out these holes with them. So let's get it put on there and I'll show you what I'm talking about. right, now that we got the bottom panel on there, got it all tightened down, just gotta get the top panel on there, do the exact same thing with the Loctite and the bolts, and make sure that our holes are all centered up. Let's get that all taken care of. All right, now that we got both of our panels on there, your B2 Flex install is all finished up. It's ready for whatever adventure you might want to take the van on next, whether that's putting a tire up here, a tire down here, whatever your adventure needs, your van is ready for it now. Once again, I'm Logan from Owl. We'll catch you on the next one.